welcome to the Giraffe Social Media Podcast. It's what social media managers are talking about. I'm Chloe Belchamber, and on today's episode, I'm direct messaging Managing Director of Insight Video Marketing, Stephen Bollschwieler. We'll be discussing how video content has taken the marketing world by storm, the best practices of creating video for your business, and of course, how TikTok has changed things forever. Welcome to the podcast, Steve.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
That's good. Where are you joining us from today?
So I am in Caerphilly in South Wales, which is just outside Cardiff.
Lovely, beautiful part of the world over there.
It's not beautiful at the moment. It's grey and misty and horrible.
A typical British summer.
Absolutely.
Right, well, let's kick off the interview with a round of quickfire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think so. Go on.
Okay, question number 1, Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Work from the office or work from home?
Both.
Both, good answer. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Filming or editing?
Editing.
Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
Hiking or sailing?
Sailing. Definitely sailing. Yeah, sorry, what I think.
Record live or post edit?
Both.
Casual Fridays or bring your pet to work day?
Casual Fridays.
Love that. Theatre or cinema?
Theatre.
Promotional video content or event video content?
Promotional video content.
Excellent. I stole that one from your website looking at your services.
Good.
Right, well, let's get started. Did you first become interested in video marketing? Like, how did you get there? Was your passion for videography what came first, or have you already always been interested in marketing?
Yeah, so it definitely was sort of video production and videography first, absolutely. When I first started, I would kind of, I'd have a client come to me and they'd say, Steve, we need this video, and they'd kind of dictate to me what they needed. We need an event video, we need a promotional video, we need a social media video. They'd use these words that people use to describe a different type of video. And I'd go, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And I'd go and do it. I'd sort of turn up, press record, be a videographer, turn up with all my kit, and then edit it and then deliver it. They'd put it on their website, they'd put it on social media or whatever it is they wanted to do with it. And it looked good, and it kind of, it did a job in a way. And, they loved the quality of the stuff we were doing. But what I think was missing was just like actual tangible business results. So I think a lot of businesses in general, when they think of video, they just go and commission someone to do a video, and they don't actually think deep enough into it. And so I was a bit despondent about that, and I was like, well, I'm sure I can add more value to it. So I started learning marketing like techniques, right? Because I think video is just a tool, and you just apply that to marketing theories. So I learned about strategy and how to apply it to video, and specifically video strategy. And I learned how to understand businesses, what their kind of challenges are specifically, what they're struggling with, and then how to use video to solve those struggles, basically. And that's kind of how it evolved. I wanted to kind of give more to my clients than just a shiny video, and become more than just a videographer who just turns up on the day and shoots something, which is, I think, what a lot of kind of, companies do these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do over at Insight?
Yeah, sure. So it's very much strategy. We call it strategy first video production. So when we have a client come to us and say, Steve, we're interested in having some video content created, the first thing we do is, the first thing is just a casual chat to make sure that, we're a good fit, and they like me, they like my style, I suppose. But most importantly, it's about identifying with the client and actually kind of becoming that trusted expert and partner who looks at the business as a whole and actually completely understands where the business wants to get to. And so it's very, very much from a business interest perspective. So before we even create any video content or even go anywhere near a camera, there's a load of really important work that we do up front in terms of understanding the audience, which is I'm sure what you guys do as well. You know, when it comes to social media, is like understanding audience and where the content needs to go in order to get the best results. But also kind of attributing that to, like, you know, if you look 12 months into the future and you've succeeded in all your goals and you've solved all these kind of problems you might be having in your business, what does that look like for you, you know, in terms of growth, or like, you know, your audience and your community? Because I think video is really, really powerful at creating community and building trust and things like that. And so I think it's really important to look forward into the future and then like backtrack from there and figure out exactly what content you're going to need to create over the next 12 months, 18, 24 months, however long it is, you know. And it's a long-term thing as well. It's not just create a video, shove it on your website, and then the power of video then sort of magically appears, right? It's far more in depth than that.
I love that. I think a lot of people maybe go into the video process and they put all their time and effort into making the video, but maybe they don't think about, you know, how to implement that into their like social strategies. So it's nice that they have someone on their side to help them out with that. Yeah,
exactly. And it's you're right, like it's being on their side. You know, I feel like a lot of the time people think that when you spend money on video or something like that, we're just out to like try and charge our clients as much as we possibly can, like for what we do. And there's a bit of like animosity towards, like, you know, pricing and stuff like that quite often. But actually, when you bring someone in as a partner who's kind of really really passionate about your business and what you do, like, because, you know, we are starting to push more into that kind of adventure travel, tourism kind of industry, because it's something we're really passionate about, and the power of those kind of experiences people have. So when you have someone like me who's really passionate about that, working alongside your business to help you grow and achieve those goals, it's not just a case of like we're genuinely there to help you, rather than just sort of turn up and create a video. Like, you know, some of my clients I've become really, really good friends with, and it is far more than just the kind of video creation process. And I find it so much more fulfilling being able to work long term with someone and, you know, completely understand their business and become part of their business, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I read a stat on Insight's website that said 82% of web traffic in 2022 will come from video. So I want to know how video marketing, in your opinion, has evolved over the years, because it's always been around, but it's perhaps more accessible now for businesses than ever because of apps like TikTok and Instagram Reels.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the way in which you communicate with your audience in general has changed a lot. And I feel like, you know, I mean, I've only been running the business for this business for about 4 years, but I've kind of got an idea of, you know, like, I think I've heard a lot of people say, you know, the corporate video is dead, which is completely true, because I feel like, you know, what video used to be was, it would be kind of like someone sat behind a desk talking about their revenue and like, we're this sort of company, and it was like very much we. But because of the way video has become so accessible, and it's so easy for user generated content, and it's so easy for like anyone in a business to pick up a phone, go live and you know, be an expert basically. I think it's become much more of a two-way thing, and it's far more about building relationships rather than just talking about yourself. You know, that's a big mistake people make, I think, in their videos, but I think in their marketing in general, is that they talk about themselves too much and they don't resonate with the audience enough. So I think it's definitely become more of a two-way thing, and also it's more about story and emotion these days than it was, and I've definitely seen that, the power of that, you know, in some of the projects we've done. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
No, it absolutely does. And you know what? It leads very nicely into my next one, which is, what do you think makes videos so like important and so impactful in the world of marketing these days?
So, okay, I've got a bit of a story on that. So I recently became a father, which is incredible. So 3 months ago, and it turns out that you have to book a nursery before your child's even born these days, because everyone's having babies. So like, and that was a massive shock to us. But we found this Montessori nursery, and I didn't really know what Montessori was, and I thought to myself, oh well, I could Google it. But we booked a tour to go and have a look around and meet, you know, one of the people who works there. I thought, oh, I could Google it, and I was like, hang on a minute, I'm going to go and meet this person who like lives and breathes Montessori every single day. So instead of Googling it, I waited until I saw her, and I asked her the question, and I listened to her answer, and it meant that I got an idea of her passion behind it, and I got the idea of really what it meant to her and the children there, because I could hear what was in her voice, and I could hear the emotion in her voice and the passion in her voice. And that's what video gives you, is that kind of the visual ability to not only just sort of see what's going on. So for us, you know, it's like, you know, mountains or yachts or boats or like the sea, you know, stuff like that. But it's the people. So, you know, you can see when someone's feeling sad or excited or happy. And you can hear when someone's feeling sad or excited or happy, and that's not something you get from a picture or you know, a website which is just full of paragraphs of text. Like you don't get that feeling, and I think that feeling is really, really important when you're trying to make a decision whether to buy something or not. You know, I think there's definitely an emotional connection to adventures or products or you know, services, even when you're talking B2B. All of that you get with video, and you don't get that with just text, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that corporate video is dead. So what are the different approaches a brand can take toward video marketing, and how does it differ from like B2B to B2C industries?
So I just in general, like, you know, the people, there's that kind of buzzword of story goes around all the time. Like, you know, a lot of people say, we tell your story, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's like kind of that, to me, that's like a fundamental thing of video. Like, of course you tell a story. If you're not telling a story, the video's not really doing a very good job. So, but I think even with corporate, like there's that, you know, instead of, I think when I first started, I edited a piece, and it was this guy sat behind a desk talking about like, we've got this turnover every year, you know, and this, and we've got these awards and things like that. And I edited it, and I was like, okay, this is okay. But then there's this whole big thing now around kind of brand story, and actually there's more of a reason for existing for most businesses than just like the bottom line and profit and stuff like that. So it's about getting, whether you're B2B or B2C, it's about getting to the bottom of what that story is and figuring out how you can use that to connect with people who might need your service or a product you produce, etc. So, and I think that's common between B2B and B2C, but I think the difference is it's tricky, because what I was going to say was, I think generally B2C, people's buying decisions maybe a little bit quicker, and it's more based on like feeling and emotion and things like that. Whereas I think if you're looking at B2B, there's very much, you know, there needs to be a specific business case for it, for a particular service or product, etc. And you need to be able to demonstrate that to the CEO or the, you know, the managing director or whoever it is, however big the company is. So like the time in which it takes for B2B marketing to take effect is probably a lot longer in general. And there might be more touch points, there might be more, you know, there might be a longer process. So you need to take that into account when you're creating your strategies. And B2C, you know, impulse buys, capturing someone's emotion there and then, and then kind of like, you know, using marketing techniques to sort of go, hey, you should definitely buy this right now, kind of thing. That's more like a B2C thing. So I think I think it's the time and the way in which you speak to those different audiences is completely different, and so it needs a completely different approach.
Definitely. I mean, I put my hand up and say I've watched a video marketing video and been like, yep, I'm buying that as just an instant response. So it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. Like, but then I need to caveat that because I know that, you know, with the adventure travel stuff we've done and I guess tourism in general, that's kind of more of a considered buying thing because there's like more of a cost to it. So like if I'm thinking B2C products under £500 or something, that might be more of an impulse buy. But as soon as you get higher ticket stuff like, you know, £1,000 for a trip abroad or something like that, you're going to think about it more. You're going to do more research. You're going to need a bit more trust. Absolutely. So actually that's more like B2B, even though you're selling to a consumer.
Very true. Well, I guess if people haven't already jumped on board with video marketing, it's probably because there's this misconception that you kind of have to create content that matches the works of Spielberg. So what can marketers do to capture their audience with video content, whether they're doing it with an iPhone or they have an external company like you giving them a hand?
Yeah. So it's a tricky one because I think the iPhone thing is amazing. Like, it's incredible that anyone can pick up a phone and sort of film stuff, and you can even get kind of a really good camera for about £500 these days, which has got incredible image quality. But there are so like you can definitely go out and start making content. But what I would say is just make sure that there's a reason for every piece of content you create. So know where it sits in your customer's journey and what you're trying to get that person to do. So make sure it's got some sort of call to action to it. And don't try and do too much in one video. So if it's something that sits right at the beginning of a kind of buyer's journey and they're just becoming aware of you, just try and push them a little bit further down, right? Don't try and sell to them straight away. And equally, if it's sort of a product video that sits on the product page that's, you know, sort of sells the benefits of a product, of course that's going to be like, so yeah, now you know how great this is, you should buy it. So yeah, like I think definitely have like the strategy in mind. Don't just create content for the sake of it. If you want to create social engagement content and get people talking on social media, really think about what that needs to be and don't just jump in and do it. Like, spend the time to talk about it, brainstorm like what's actually going to get people talking, like what are people actually interested in. And then that's one thing. But then also make sure the quality of the content you put out reflects the quality of the way you want people to perceive your brand. It's really, like I say, you know, it's really easy to just grab your phone and start filming something, but just think about that. Like, think about how do you want to be perceived? Because if you put a video out that's not great, that's subconsciously going to reflect on your brand to other people, and you could actually end up doing more damage to your brand and your business by doing that rather than getting someone in to do it for you. So you can do user generated content, but I would say seek advice from an expert and get them to just really teach you the basics about like how to set your camera up, how to light yourself, how to make yourself sound good. Especially if you're doing like a piece to camera where you're just talking to the camera, just get it right, make it look nice. And then also before you film, you need to really decide what platform it's going to go on as well. So if for some reason, if your audience, you know, you get to them quite a lot, you know, you get a lot of engagement via Instagram stories, make sure you film your video in portrait so that it fits in the Instagram story. If you B2B and you use LinkedIn video a lot, make sure you've got it in a square format with subtitles for sound off viewers who, you know, because I ran a video campaign the other day and 50% of the viewers of it watched it without the sound on. So if it didn't have subtitles on it, like burnt directly into the video so that you can't turn them on or off, 50% of the people who watched it wouldn't have known what the video was about. Right? So make sure you know what platform it's going to be on and then format it accordingly for that platform. And that's one of the things where you kind of, when you do a strategy with us, that's one of the things we always talk about is like, well, what platforms are it going to go on? How do we need to actually format these videos to make them as, you know, engaging as possible and get the best results? So yeah, those would be my tips.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's nothing worse than, going on social media and seeing a video that's not the right like format for that platform, or it doesn't have subtitles. It really it's a missed opportunity, I
Yeah.
think, for the brand.
It doesn't show very much consideration in terms of like if the person filming it can't be bothered to set it up correctly. It's like, well, can they be bothered to deliver my product on time? If I speak to them on the phone, are they going to be bothered? So don't sit down here like this. I know this is a podcast and no one can see me, but it's a good demonstration.
I'm glad I got to witness that. But you're right. I think it all comes back to strategy, like just thinking about what's the purpose behind the video and where it's going to go and how it comes down that marketing funnel for your consumers. So those are some really great tips.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, speaking of the tips and, now that we know kind of how to film the video and why we should film the video, what kind of return have you seen on video content generating for businesses? To quote another stat from your webpage, social video generates 1,200% more shares than image and text content combined.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I'm a bit dubious about some of. I think it's important to know them, but I think it's easy to put too much emphasis on the stats. I think, and also because we know where they come from, but you're not sure like what the kind of what the specimen base is of that 1,200%. But it is absolutely a lot more engaging. So I guess when you think of return and you think of return on investment, etc., it's very easy to just jump straight away to that must be a monetary value. So yes, of course, if you're creating videos which are directly linked to sales, then you can say, well, this video made me this many sales. If you've got a proper video campaign, which we've done, which is one I'd highlight, is the Evertrek Kilimanjaro campaign we did, which had a series of social media videos which promoted an event, had a trailer for the film, it had a live premiere with a Q&A, which was all kind of part of the strategy, and then it had follow-up videos. So all the way through, the videos were through the entire campaign. That generated, within the first hour whilst the live was going on, they sold £10,000 worth of trips, but just because the video we created was so captivating that the viewer was like, I can see myself doing this, I need to do this, and they booked it. And then the campaign was about four weeks, and in total they did about £330,000 worth of sales, which if they'd have done what they originally wanted to do, which was get the film we created for them and put it on YouTube and then send an email out to their email list, they wouldn't have achieved that.
Yeah.
And that was just the initial launch. And because we embedded all of this content into the business really well, it's constantly generating sales. So the film's been out for a year and a half now. It's still generating sales. It's still a key reason why people are going, I need to use this company because I trust them so much. I see what a good experience they give, all because of the video content that we've created. And they're very good at marketing and they're very good at customer service and stuff. I wouldn't attribute all of their success to my videos. I'm not going to be that naive, but certainly, if I know that if the videos weren't there, they wouldn't have had, that as big success. But then on the flip side as well, when you look at return, it could be that you've increased your website traffic from social ads by 200% or 300%, whatever your goal is. So a return on investment is not always going to be like a money value, but if you increase your website traffic by 300%, and then you convert 100 or 10% of that, you're still going to get a return on the investment, but you wouldn't necessarily attribute that as a return. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or it could just be I've got several hundred likes on my Facebook page, if that's what your goal is, and you wouldn't necessarily have achieved that if you hadn't have invested in your business. So
lots of avenues then.
yeah, there is. Yeah, sorry, I kind of babble a bit sometimes.
No, we'd love to hear it. Now, in the past, I imagine that this kind of long form promotional content would have been immensely popular, and I mean, it still is. But do you think that the introduction of TikTok and, these shorter form, unpolished content, is this the way forward now, or do you think there's still merit in that longer form stuff?
I think that, I think there's room for both. I think if you create the right experience for someone, and I guess it depends on your audience as well. So if you've got a younger demographic, with an attention span of -2 seconds, of course the short form stuff's going to be more effective for them, and you need to consider that when you're creating the content, and you need to figure out, how do I get that message across in a really short period of time. So I think short form content is definitely there, and it is a really great way of grabbing someone's attention. And for me, if I create a video ad, a sponsored ad for Facebook, for example, I don't necessarily even want them to take in the video itself. I want the video to just catch their attention enough so that they stop their thumb from scrolling past, and then maybe they get taken in by the video and they watch it, or they just go, oh, this looks interesting, and then they read the copy accompanying the video and they go, oh, this is cool, and they probably wouldn't have stopped if they hadn't have had that short video. Even just a 10-second video of some pretty mountains will stop someone from scrolling. So I think it's got its place. I don't think it's going to completely replace the longer form stuff, but I think if you can get a message across in 30 seconds or 10 seconds, then yeah, go for it. Why not?
Absolutely.
And user generated content is great as well. I think it's a really, really powerful thing if you can build a community of an audience where they're willing to go, hey, I just got this brand new camera, this is how it works, and they do like a 20-second thing and they tag your company in it. Fantastic. And if you can encourage that and grow a community where they trust your business enough to do that, it's fantastic. We've done a couple of really fun user generated content pieces over lockdown, because we couldn't do any filming, but these companies wanted to continue engaging people, and it was like it was like a sort of a talent contest, and we put like a little video wall together, and it was just really good fun. And so it is a really good way of engaging people with the shorter videos. But I just think it needs to be considered within the greater the greater needs of the business. If TikTok's there, but your business doesn't have any audience on it, then don't go near it. But if they're hanging out there all the time and that you can get sales through just short form videos, then go for it. I know that our 13-minute long Kilimanjaro film is way longer. Yeah, is way longer than any promotional film most people watch. But because we know the audience so well and we know what they like, we know that kind of thing works. So it depends what works for the audience, I think.
Absolutely. I love that. Great advice. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions then that you see around video marketing? Are the things people are getting wrong, or
I think we've touched on a couple of things about that kind of, it's not necessarily a misconception, but the quality thing. That can be really damaging. But I think it's a case of a lot of people think that you can take one video and put it somewhere and then get a really great return. Or you can take one video and then put that same video on your website, on your homepage. You can also then share it on social media, and then you can also put it in an email or whatever it is, or you can put it on Instagram stories and it looks weird because it's not the right format. So I think, so, and also the way you speak to an audience when they're just sort of in the stage where they're just sort of looking around, considering about what they want, who they want to go with, what trip they want, or whatever it is, in my context, or if it's products which make is the best product for me, what lawnmower should I buy, the way you speak to them right at the beginning of that journey is going to be completely different to the way you speak to them when they're actually kind of oh yeah, I'm actually ready to buy something. So kind of video content will bridge the gap between marketing and sales. And that's when it's really powerful, when you create a journey for your audience from the very beginning to the point where they're ready to buy, and beyond that as well, like the aftercare. So if someone buys a lawnmower, send them a video that says, this is how you care for your lawnmower. Like, that's great customer service. And then they'll go, by the way, Fred from next door, I bought this new lawnmower. They had great customer service and they had this amazing video that told me how to care for it. So don't just think about having one video that speaks to everyone and does the job across sales and marketing. When you're considering stuff at the very beginning, you're very emotional, and then when you get to the sale, you're very rational. So the language you use changes. So that one video you create is not going to do the job of both. And if you try and make it do the job of both, it won't do the job of either.
Mm-hmm. I love that video content is kind of bridging that gap. That I'm going to use that.
It does. It absolutely does. And I know you guys kind of concentrate on social media marketing and things like that, but I think it is important to consider that further stage. One thing that, like, pretty much every single person, business owner listening to this should go off and do is look up personal video messaging and in emails. Everyone should do it. Like, I sent one to you when you first jumped out at me and reached out to me. What did that make you think when you got it?
I loved it. I can't lie. I sent it to some of my colleagues. I said, "Look at this. This is awesome." Yeah, I'm going to start doing it now. Honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, every business should do it. And it doesn't matter if you're B2B or B2C. It's that personal connection that shows that you care. You've taken sort of 5 minutes out to turn and it doesn't even actually take that long. You literally, once you've got everything set up, you just turn your webcam on, say something to the camera.
Typing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's more engaging. So you kind of like, hey, if someone, so for example, this is a really good tip and I think it is worth talking about, is if someone sends you a question about your product, for example, you could send an email reply and just, type, well, okay, this is the answer. But if you send them an email which has got, oh, hey, thanks so much for your question. I thought I'd respond with a video because I think you'll kind of understand the concept a bit better. And I shot this video just for you. And you can even get like a whiteboard and hold their name up at the beginning of it or something like that, like to make it really personal, to show you put the effort in. And they watch it and they're like, wow, this person really cares about X, Y, Z, whatever it is. And I don't actually have like a stat on that, but it's massive. And the amount of people who like, oh yeah, Steve, I love that video message. And it makes it more human.
Definitely.
And so I don't know can I say what platform I use? I don't know.
Of course, yeah.
So I use a platform called dub.com. I've got a link that people can use if they want to sign up to it, and you can put call to actions in there. So if you want to book a call with someone or something like that, like you could put a button in. It's really incredibly powerful, and it doesn't take much effort to do, and so that's like the easiest, cheapest way of starting to experience video in your business. And the more you talk to the camera, like, it's weird when we look at this kind of like weird robot thing for the first time, but the more you get used to it, it just flows and your personality comes out, and that's what the business is, and it should be the personality of you and your employees interacting with your customers. Like,
definitely,
that's all it is at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, what great advice to finish on there. I think it's not something many businesses are doing, so if you're listening, make sure you absolutely jump on to that. That is all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining me, Steve. If you guys enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, or follow us if you're listening on Spotify. We would love to hear your thoughts about today's interview, so make sure you reach out to us and Insight on social media and let us know what you thought. We've been Giraffe Social Media. You've been amazing. We'll see you next time.